I had the pleasure of chatting to Sian Evans, fabulous singer and songwriter of the British electronic band Kosheen. Sian recalls how she left her hippie lifestyle living in a teepee atop a mountain in Wales in the early 90s with a raft of songs already written, searching for the music to go with them. She headed for the emerging Bristol trip-hop scene, seeking out the likes of Portishead and Massive Attack, and worked hard to get noticed. Eventually, Kosheen were formed, and the rest is history. Sian's writing influences are perhaps unexpected. She cites Joni Mitchell and Kate Bush amongst others. Sian talks frankly about some of the challenges she experienced as a woman in the 90s music scene, and the complexities of being in creative relationships and how some of them can unfortunately end up in legal disputes. We discuss how digital recording has changed the way we make music, and her work supporting the next generation of musicians. Sian Evans. So, how's the first show been? You've done several shows already in the Czech Republic.
Four. Yeah, they've all been spot on, equally different, because every show is different, but equal energy, equal give from the band. Band's been amazing. Sound's been fantastic. The local crew have been really supportive. The promoters that are taking us around on this little tour have been so kind. Those are the little things that matter these days. The fact that you feel loved and you feel taken care of. You're not just thrown in the back of a van and then delivered to another venue. Your needs are met. And as you get older in this game, I think that's more important than it used to be.
And legendarily now, that will go down in legend, is you've been shut down twice by the police, I heard, because it was like you were going over the time the crowd wouldn't let you leave the venue.
Not this time, but this has happened in the past, yes. I mean, we're much better now at managing our time and making sure that, if there's a 10 o'clock curfew, we're done by 10 o'clock. The last thing any band wants is to do their big vinegar stroke, big money shot number and have it cut down by the venue. That's not good. That's not good for the audience. That's not good for the band.
Well, I mean, I've been having a brilliant stroll down memory lane when I kind of knew we were going to have the podcast with you. It's just been fabulous, I mean, I kind of sort of grew up in London, really. I mean, I'm Irish, but I left when I was a teenager and I went to London in the mid-80s and it was
happening then, wasn't it?
It was amazing, listening to all the music. And I just forgot how incredible it was. And just like the whole Bristol scene, obviously, and trip-hop and, even neo-soul with the whole Massive Attack meets Soul to Soul, meets Mochiba, meets Portishead.
Well, all that was the melting pot that was, creating all of my influences, really.
So that was the music you were growing up with too at the time, and that
absolutely. Yeah, they were our peers. They were who we were looking up to and who we kind of wanted to take our lead from. But obviously, as you create things and as you develop with music, it's like a sweet shop. You take a little piece from everything and you create something quite individual and quite new.
And so, how did you guys meet? How did you get together in the first place?
With the original Kosheen members, I was determined. I was living on the top of a mountain in a teepee. Very alternative lifestyle with my son and with lots of other families up there, which is just great fun. That was at the beginning of the 80s, beginning of the 90s, early 90s. And I was writing a lot and reams and reams of songs. And I just my son was getting to the age where it would be good for him to go into some kind of school or in some kind of reception class or whatever. And it was, I thought, I need to get these songs recorded. That's what I'd like to do. I'm sick of singing them to sheep and badgers and hippies. No offence to my family, but, it was time. I felt the need, and Bristol was calling with the likes of Portishead and Massive Attack. And, it was calling me, so I thought, right, that's where we'll go. And also my son's father lived in Bristol, so I went with the premise that he might be helpful with childcare, which was didn't quite work out that way, but there you go. We muddled through, and I just sang everywhere, sang backing vocals for all sorts of bands, jumped up on mics, took mics off MCs in drum and bass gigs. That was kind of, the dangerous things that I did. Because at the time, everybody just wanted to spit over drum and bass, and it was boring, a lot of it. It was just like, and I'd be like, give me that. And I'd start singing. And
just ad-libbing.
Just ad-libbing, yeah. And that got recognised by a few producers, and I put out a record, and that was recognised by a bunch of other drum and bass producers across the London and Black Market Records and Metalheads and whatnot. And yeah, it just, there was a bit of a flavour for me. And Mark asked me after one of the gigs, I'd wait outside the Trinity venue, and can I carry your bags in? Can I carry your records in? Because I didn't have any money to get in, so I'd take the records in for the guys and get in for free. And at this one gig, Mark said, "Well, let's give you a little tryout. Let's take you into the studio and see what you got." And I was shitting it, scared, thinking, "Oh my God!" Because at the time I was writing a lot of folk songs. My influences really were songwriters, were Joni Mitchell, James Taylor, Suzanne Vega. I loved all that kind of storytelling, and I didn't know how it was going to work. And then we got in the studio, and he played me some beautiful music, and I was so relieved because it wasn't all doof doof doof. It was a real nice hybrid of the tempo drum and bass and strings and melody, and so we could swap melody. I could lead, say, well, why don't we lift that up there and bring that into a verse and give it more of a kind of songwriting structure. And from there it just blossomed, really. Everything that I did, they loved and got recorded. I mean, even down to, the recording of Hide You, which was quite an amazing afternoon. The boys were in the kitchen having a chili eating competition. Yeah, because that's what they did. I got bigger balls than you. I can eat hot chili. They always try to convince me. I try one of these, John. I'm like, well, do you want me to sing, or do you want me to sit there and sweat for the rest of the afternoon? You know what I mean? So they were doing that, swinging their balls in the kitchen, and they had this patch, this just repetitive loop, dum 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 dum. Dum, 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 dum. And I just started, and I just started singing into the mic, and then both their little heads came around the door like that and went, "Press record!" And bang. And that, that's how simple it was, and how effortless, really, a lot of it was. Yeah.
So it's the whole song thing. You're from a song background, and
Absolutely.
That was what was unique, I think. I've absorbed myself in your music for the last couple of days and loving it. I mean, I obviously was aware of you even at the time, but I went through the different kind of periods of the band, and the thing, the kind of thread is obviously the melody and the songwriting. It's kind of like, where did you kind of write around the track, or did the track write around you?
I had, as I mentioned previously, I had a bunch of songs that had already been written,
right?
That were just waiting. So I kind of carved them into the tracks that the guys had, and encouraged the guys to step a little bit more left field of what they were already kind of ensconced in the drum and bass scene. The Decoder and Substance already had quite a name on the underground. But this was music that could reach its head above the ground. This is music that had a wider appeal.
Yeah, definitely.
It had a bigger message. It had more colours, and it had more accessibility, I guess, because of the songs.
Especially the melody. The melody was king, and again, and the narrative, as you say, because like listening to all the records, because obviously the production changes over the records quite dramatically at times, but the voice holds it together. So that's the central focus all the time.
We were all flexing, all of us, and that's where that creative explosion happens, is when an artist steps outside of their comfort zone but feels supported enough within the group to be able to do that, to be able to stretch out. And I think we all did that, and we were all very surprised by what we came through with.
I mean, there's a big difference between Resist and then, is it Kokopelli? Is that how you pronounce it?
Kokopelli, yeah.
I mean, that's quite a dramatic change from like where you kind of discovered guitars on the next record, but whereas before it was very drum and bass and great, I loved it, having all the drops, etc. And then it's like a guitar record. And
I personally, as I was a baby, as a creative, I was in my 20s, I was late 20s with Resist, but I still felt as if I was cutting my teeth a creator,
Right.
and as a writer. And Kokopelli gave me more of a platform to explore that as a songwriter. I didn't have the boundaries. You know, we were signed by a major by this point, and they were very encouraging to allow me to, you know, and it put the boys into a difficult position because I don't think that they really invested the same way that I did.
Right.
You know, they still wanted to be underground. They still wanted to have that, you know, that kudos with their peers, and that's where the cracks started to appear, really.
Right, because you know, you obviously then you went on to the next record, which you changed again, you know.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I don't know if you'll find
Well, man,
it.
you know, we're writing. We had a bunch of tracks that we put together in this alchemy for Resist, and then we're touring with Kokopelli.
Right.
And then with Damage, we are seriously up to our necks in touring and responsibility, and the pressure on us was a lot different. We had no pressure in the first instance, and that's very similar to a lot of other bands' experience.
Sure.
Actually, you write the first album and it's a big smash
It takes
hit.
3 years to write,
That's
and then
it.
you want the next one in 6 weeks.
That's right, and you're also sitting on a tour bus looking out of a window, or you know, going in and out of hotels and venues and hotel departure lounges, airport departure lounges. You know, so it was great. It's what we wanted, but it changed our creative process. Yeah.
But it's a great record, Damage. It kind of
I
reminds me,
do.
and you might not like the comparison, but I love this band, it's the Depeche Mode.
Oh,
it kind of reminded me a little bit of Ultra. You know, that
Yeah.
record that they had, you know, sort of barrel of a gun and all that. And
I
it was
know.
like that powerful production.
I know Daren Dakota would be extremely pleased to hear that.
Well, I love that record, and I could hear, and I have to say, like, again, besides your voice being
incredible producer, actually.
constant through the process, the production is fantastic, and the mixes are fantastic. So it's a real team effort, and you know, you're all very lucky that you met each other when you did, because you know.
Yeah, we all brought something to the table. Daren was an impeccable talent. You know, he had a way of just being able to come into a session, and I'd have a song, and there'd be Mark's kind of, I guess, sketches, and then Daren would come in and just press a couple of buttons, and all of a sudden it would bring it all together. And you know, that in itself is a great talent. It's a shame that I don't work with those guys anymore. Life got far too difficult, and I don't think we were managed very well.
Right.
I don't think our journey was particularly taken care of well, and as you know, as shit would have it.
Yeah, well, it happens, doesn't it? It's like some stuff that's just not going back to happens at the best. I had it recently with a friend of mine where I kind of, you know, sort of met, and I kind of had this fantasy in my head it would all be great, you know, but it wasn't. We just couldn't go back to where we were before as friends. You know, it just didn't turn out. That I was a little sad about it, but it's kind of what you know, what happens in life, isn't it? Because
Well, I don't think that, you know, that bands or creatives are destined to be together forever, you know, unless they have that very fortunate situation where you each give each other room to grow. I wasn't given that space, so I had to find it myself and actually go and do other collaborations with other artists, which gave me that breathing space. But that didn't sit well with the guys, and it just created friction.
was it the DJ Fresh massive hit, maybe?
Yeah, it might have something to do with that. Yeah.
A worldwide hit, number one.
Yeah, 2 of them.
Worldwide hit, and we're not part of it. You know,
Yeah,
but
noses were put out of joint, but the relationship was already...
that was louder, wasn't it? Obviously.
Yeah, and I wrote Hot Right Now as well for Rita Ora, so that was a great hit as well. And I was really flexing as a writer, and I can't help feeling that if I'd have had more support from the boys that I was working with, that maybe we could have, you know, pushed that creativity in the direction that would have benefited us all. It broke down.
But you did another record after that. You did Independence, didn't you, that record?
I did and I didn't. You know, it was our like I mentioned, we had creative differences, and I didn't. There are a few songs on Independence, but not where I wanted to go. You know, I could see that we had a really strong fan base, a strong support, and I wanted to keep those people and implicate that support with material that could be understood by that demographic. And independence was pushing me further into the background and the sound further underground. So I liked some of it. I wasn't involved with all of it, and Solitude I had nothing to do with. So I was being slowly but surely pushed out.
It's really noticeable on Solitude. I was listening to that just before I came to interview you, and I was like, wow, it's like, you know, there's a lot of experimentation and it's not so song-based. And so it makes sense now. Why it's like, what happened on Solitude? It's like, it was just more of an experimental underground record.
It's tough, huh?
And going back to independence, obviously you guys were trying to be, or somebody was trying to be independent, because you started your own label, didn't you, Skeleton Records?
That was nothing to do with me. That you know, it seemed as if it was a bit boys clubby, and I was treated as a session singer.
Oh, wow.
And I wasn't included in any decision making or any a subsequent contract signing. Yeah, it was pretty dark. Yeah,
it's terrible when that happens, because it's kind of.
Well, does it happen very often? I don't know.
It does.
I couldn't fucking believe it happened.
Well, I'll
to me.
tell you a story. I'm
scratching my head. You know?
My other job is a producer as well, and I've kind of worked with names over the years, dare I say, without sounding like I'm bragging, but I worked with Diane Charlemagne, you know, who obviously worked with Goldie, and she's sung on some tracks I was working on. And I also worked with Sharon Nelson from Massive Attack.
Oh gosh!
And, oh my God, you know, she's very upset about a lot of stuff that happened with the boys back in the day.
It seemed like it was a generation of like, they weren't necessarily bad boys, to be honest, but they behaved like that.
Right.
You know, there seemed to be a kind of a culture of, you know.
So did the label not step in at any point? Because, I mean, if you were signed to Sony...
The label had already stepped out by that point. So it was like a bit like the Wild West.
Right, it was every man for himself.
Well, I didn't. If I'd have known that, then I would have maybe protected myself a bit better. But I didn't, and so ensued a lot of legal wranglings. I'm not the type of woman to back down. And
sure.
No, you know...
well, you're Welsh. Come on.
Well, that's right. And I protect my intellectual property.
Right.
You know, because at the end of the day, that's really all I have. You know.
That's your only currency at the end of the day.
It's my currency, and it's important, I think, as a woman. And I really do believe that things have changed massively in the last 10, 15, 20 years. And that women are being taken a lot more seriously and are taking more managerial roles, and there's more empathy and more understanding of
and respect.
You know, and respect.
Proper respect at the end of the day.
Good, and finally, and that's thank God, you know. But at the time, it was still hard, and I'm not. I couldn't have let the side down by just backing down and walking away.
Oh, good for you. And are you at peace with it now, do you feel?
I feel empowered, yeah. I mean, I won and I'm entitled. I can go and perform as Kosheen now, whereas for years and years I couldn't. I wasn't even allowed to sing my own songs, really, and was being shot down in all different directions. But it's great. I mean, it serves everybody. We share writership on all of those amazing songs. Every time I perform, pennies drop into the PPL or the PRS or whatever. People go in to investigate the back catalogue of Kosheen. So everybody benefits, and I'm just so grateful that I'm allowed finally to put Kosheen on that poster and get out there and do what I'm best at.
Everybody goes home with a balloon.
Exactly.
I mean, it's a great...
I don't know why I said exactly, because I've never ever heard that expression before.
I know someone said it to me and I nicked it a while ago.
I just got these images of everybody with a balloon like that and a pin going... So,
okay, the whole sort of... So it's obviously painful, these things. And at the time...
I'm sweating here. It's horrible to even talk about it. Because we loved each other. I loved them.
Look, we all have these battles, you know, and everybody... I mean, funny enough, I had a podcast with Vivian Campbell, who's in Def Leppard now, but he was in a band called dopeYEAH, big, massive metal band. Right. And they're on tour, huge stadiums.
Just passed through Prague, right?
But he used to be in a band called dopeYEAH. I was in a band with him back in the day. That's how we know each other. but in the end, he went to America and joined his band dopeYEAH, and they fell out terribly. And he's still talking about it now. I mean, like the lady, I'm over it, but he was going on about it halfway again. Yeah, and he was like half an hour later, he's still very upset by it. And it's understandable because we've all been there, and you kind of go, it's part of your DNA, but you have to let it go at some point.
When it's when you're hurt, we're not working for anybody.
Yeah.
We're artists.
Yeah.
It's our art. It's not just a job. It's who we are. It's what we are. It's what I've always. I mean, I'm fucking unemployable. I can't do anything.
I know the feeling.
So this is it. This is it. This is the industry right here. Apart from, actually, I do have a bed and breakfast now. Because at the end of the pandemic, I thought, oh God, I'm never going to walk the boards again, darling. So what am I going to do? So I bought a house in West Wales.
Fantastic.
It's one of Dylan Thomas's old abodes, the
Fantastic.
poet. And so I put that out as B&B. It's fabulous. I love it.
Well, you and Charlotte Church can exchange guests.
Oh, does she do that as well?
She's got a hotel now. She's kind of like a wellness kind of hotel. There was a whole TV series about it.
Wellness hotel, bless
her. So you can send her some clients. She can sell yours when they want to mix it up a bit.
Well, we all drink in the same bar. We all go to the same AA meeting.
So... I mean, just getting putting that to bed, but it is to hurt.
I had to do that a couple of times.
I think it's kind of the trauma of these things. I mean, everybody has this trauma, don't they? We all have it, and I mean, I've said this several times before in interviews, but I mean, great art comes out of struggle, so it does make you stronger, doesn't it?
It does.
And you write better stuff. You have a lovely, beautiful middle class lifestyle. It doesn't make great records. Let's be honest.
Well, it's a lovely life. I would like to, now that all of because the legal wrangling's only been put to bed last year.
Brilliant.
So I'm now really looking with a bunch of songs for some great production to put out an album, a Kosheen album. I'd really love to do that.
Brilliant.
As a swan song, I guess. Or
Are you talking to any labels at the moment?
I'm not. I think the material comes first.
I agree. Songs come first.
I have a bunch of bits and bobs, and it's in the creative process. Yeah, it's got to be right. I can't have had all of that troubles and that hiatus, and then put out an okay record.
And what kind of music is exciting you now?
God. Well, I still love dance music, I still love drum and bass. I still love soul. I still like dancing, and I think that more than ever, we need music to celebrate our lives and to, I get off on singer-songwriters like Aldous Harding and This Is the Kit, and I love that kind of wistful depth of exploration of the human condition. I love that, but I think this record has got to be a celebration of the journey and a positive look to the future rather than navel gazing.
So you think it would be like another beat-orientated record?
I would like to. I mean, if you look at all of the records that I've written and produced, they all have a rhythm to them where they go deep and they go dark and then they go up. And I look at the patterns, at the kind of, the biorhythms of these records, and I think, that's the Kosheen signature. It's that ability to be able to go in and out of genre seamlessly and through the vehicle of the song. So that's what I'd like to do.
Yeah, I think you definitely...
To emulate that.
As I said, all of the records, the thing that's the constant is your voice. And, it's unique. You always know it's Sian Evans when you hear it every single time. You can't deny that. And I think that's what the guys probably didn't appreciate as much as they should at the time. Well, that's the kind of glue that holds everything together. Okay, they can experiment, but you have that sound. You have the Kosheen brand down, your voice. It's the constant right in the middle. And without that, it's just a load of production. It's kind of... This is the thing that I think some people often forget. That's the singer and the song is what it's still all about. The song is king.
Thank you.
And when I think one day they'll wake up and go, shit, where's she gone? Do you know her number? Can you remember her number? But it's true. It's you have to be. It's an artist's song, business. And
listen,
without
like
that,
you said, out of great pressure comes diamonds, comes beautiful things, you know. And no matter what has gone on between us, you know, they will continue to find that creativity, the vein of creativity somewhere, you know, and they'll have learned by that experience, just as I have. You know, I've learned a lot about myself in the last 6 years of the separation and the breakdown of that relationship. And, you know, you have to ask yourself very serious questions like, what do you want to do? Is this what you want to do? Do you want to pursue this? And the answer to that really for me is yeah.
Yeah, but also you were a single mum bringing up a child, so
well, he's 31 years old.
Amazing,
baby.
isn't it? I heard you doing.
He's got some great music, actually. Absolutely, he's a phenomenal producer.
Maybe he should produce your next record.
I think ne'er the twain shall meet. He's always been a very independent soul, and although my counsel is valued, I know, and as his is valued in my life, you know,
Sure.
He's got a lot of sensible things to say, that man. And he's a good human, and that's all you can really hope for, really, with your children, is that they are happy and they are good, solid people. But yeah, you should check him out. His name's Yves Thomas. That's with
Yves
a Y,
Thomas.
Yves Thomas.
So from when you were a kid, and then obviously, you know, because you must have had him pretty young. And,
I was young, but not young for Wales, but
fair enough.
but still young. I felt young. But in a way, you know, it was a beautiful thing. You know, there was a lot of struggle when my career took off. That was the difficult bit. Being a young mum wasn't so difficult. It was fabulous, you know, tie-dyeing all his nappies and forgetting to fix the colour on them, and then having a purple baby and go, my baby's purple, you know, because the dye had come off onto it. There were some great funny stories. And
so were you living in that kind of commune situation with him?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So you kind of had a big family.
Moving into a teepee and telling him we're going to live in a teepee like Indians. And then after the first week of living in a teepee, he's hanging out the bottom of the teepee because it's so smoky, because I hadn't worked out how to work the fires out yet. I don't want to be an Indian anymore, mummy. I want to live in a trailer like Aurelia. So, yeah, and running wild, having to wipe their muddy faces to see which one was yours. I mean, beautiful. And that community, that communal eating, I mean, fuck all, no money, nothing. But look, supporting each other. We never went hungry.
There was a lot of that happening at the time, though.
I think
you know,
so, yeah.
I have a lot of friends who were very much into dance music at the time, and they were, you know, they were all kind of had this, you know, alternative lifestyle and sort of, you know, living in shared accommodations and kind of that whole warehouse scene, even that was going on at the same time, and it was all about kind of, you know, sort of love and peace in a way. And then obviously when the rave scene happened and the ecstasy, and, you know, I mean,
it was fantastic.
It was great, wasn't it? It just was. It's like people sometimes.
It was a real leveler.
Yeah, it was. And I think people were doing things, I felt, there was a sort of innocence about it as well, which was really beautiful. Everybody was really engaged in music. It wasn't cynical, you know, and the big machine wasn't really swallowing it up. And
it had no boundaries.
Yeah.
You know, it hadn't had a shape. It didn't have a shape yet, or a face, or a colour, or a genre. You know, it was everybody dancing together in a field. Everybody fucked off with the government, and everybody just celebrating and supporting each other. It was unifying.
Yeah, I've often thought that the reason it often happened was because, you know, when I grew up around the same time as you, probably a little older than you, but I remember when we, you know, you sort of. The dole was the thing that, you know, kept it all together. It was like a university grant. At least you could get your... That's the way I liked it. It was like a grant, darling, you know.
God, those days are gone, haven't they?
Yeah, so now the kids now, it's like... So I think a lot of great music came from, like, where I used to sign on, like the Clash used to sign on, you know. So it was like that kind of, the Clash used to sign on here. Wow, this must be great. But it was like you were able to get on and work your music, and then finally get a bit older and you pay your taxes and you become like everybody else.
Yeah.
But now I feel like the middle class has kind of hijacked the whole music scene, in the sense that young kids now, you can't get in the dole anymore. They put you in some crappy job and in 2 weeks. Yeah. So then, you know, it's...
And there's no investment into that development of music and into allowing young people to investigate those things. It's like, you can't live on the dole. You can't live on universal credit. You have to have a job, therefore you can't sit and play your instrument all day long, 6-7 hours a day, until you're a master of it. Yeah. You know, that's a shame. I mean, there's lots of courses, which there weren't when I was growing up. You know, you could go popular music course here, music production courses there, and you can get grants and support for them. I've taught on a couple actually.
Really?
Yeah, I love teaching. I love it. I was like so scared when I first went into a classroom of hopeful faces, you know, to do a lecture on songwriting and popular music, and looking at all these faces looking up at me and thinking, can you do anything else? Because if you can, do that.
It's like
because if there's anything else you can do that you're passionate about, do that, because this is going to take everything from you. It does. It gives you everything.
It's all consuming.
It takes 110%.
Yeah, it's not for the faint-hearted.
It's not indeed.
You know, and I've often thought that, you know, and you know, it feels like Raging Bull, you know, the movie. You know, it's like, you never put me down, sugar. You know, you have to keep taking those blows, and it's like it's a vocation. It's like being a priest,
incredibly focused. Yeah, it is a bit
or
religious.
a nurse or a doctor or whatever. It is. And I mean, it's funny though when you talk about doing these courses, because I've done a few little things myself, and you go, what the fuck do I know? I don't know anything. But then you get in, you realize you do. You know, it all starts. Oh, actually, I do know a few things.
Yeah. Once you take the top off the bottle, it all flows forward. And actually, the last 20 years, I have actually gained a great deal of experience that is transferable and educative. Whether it be on a songwriting course or a singing course or a you know, on a growing up in a human world course, you know, it's there's a lot there, isn't there? There's a lot of material.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm a bit on the fence. But I agree with you that, you know, education is great, but it's the whole kind of, again, it's probably my sort of chip on my shoulder, working class roots. But you know, this whole thing where you know,
I hear what you're going to say. I know what you're going to say.
You know, sort of where the middle classes have kind of hijacked that, where mummy and daddy, you know, buy
to go to school,
to
be a singer.
Yeah, and there's a bit of me. It doesn't.
And it's like, I know. But so they come and they want to do it, and. It gives some solid employment to some great musicians that maybe, you know, need to work.
Sure.
You know, and a lot of these lecturers are extremely dedicated to education. You know, they've gone from touring and they've jumped off the bandwagon, if you like, and they're in the schools now, and they're teaching and supporting the next generation of musicians. So let's just get that chip off your shoulder.
Yeah, that's always going to be there. I'm a stubborn Paddy with an attitude problem.
I know. I do hear you.
You know, it is just. I come from one of the roughest parts of Dublin. You know, so this is all amazing. Just sitting here, you talking. I never get over that fact of the thrill of doing what I'm doing. I think that's a great thing.
Same as that.
You know, when you kind of come from humble background, it's
I feel exactly the same way.
It's all wonderful, isn't it?
Oh, it blows me away every night. You know, I mean, to see we've done 4 shows now, and we've performed to at least 1,000 people every night.
Amazing.
And they're just beaming and singing the songs, you know. I should have grown a thicker skin by now and just be like, yeah, well, whatever.
No.
But no, man, I'm like, wow, for some little hippie Welsh mining town girl. But this is the
payoff.
You know.
This is the payoff for all the struggle.
Wrote a bunch of songs that have inhabited a generation of people that still come to gigs and bring their kids to gigs and sing the songs to me, that those songs have kind of carved their way into each and every one of those people's journeys. It's magic, isn't it?
Oh, it's absolute magic.
You know, you've been a part of so many people's lives via the music, obviously, not sitting in their front garden, but that's a huge privilege.
Yeah, I think I don't want to look back too much and be too nostalgic, but I do think that lack of cynicism and sort of innocence was a huge part of it. Whereas now it's just becoming very corporate for me in a lot of ways, and I that doesn't attract me. I'm not saying I'm not going to knock young music. Yeah, I probably am a grumpy old man.
Jesus Christ.
But I kind of, and I listen to a lot of modern music as well, but honestly, maybe it is, and I have to accept the fact that, you know, a lot of music that's happening is not my music. It's like it's their music, and good luck to them.
Of course.
You know, so I mean, and let them get what they get out of it. But
that's generational, isn't it?
Yeah, I also
think there is music going on that doesn't get into the mainstream, that doesn't get onto the radios. You know, the 1, 2, you know, or the capitals or whatever radio stations. I think Radio 6 is amazing. I think 6 Music really champions the up and coming and the edgy left field kind of music, and I get a lot of food from that. I get a lot of nurture from that particular show, and then
another fellow Welsh lady from Catatonia, Cerys Matthews.
Oh, she's lovely. Yeah,
her show's good.
She's good. Yeah, her show's fantastic, and oh God, yeah, there's so many great shows and so much great music that you wouldn't necessarily pick up on the mainstream radios. So there is still good, strong music coming through. You might have to go a little bit out of your way to find it now more.
Yeah, well, I listen to Radio 6 as well, and I try to keep as connected as I can.
And
I make music as well.
That can connect you into playlists and to really brighten up your music collection. I love that as well, you know.
AI taking over our lives.
Yeah.
Are you real? Is this the real Sian?
Yes, it is. It's funny you should mention that, actually, because I'm chatting about AI and about
oh my God, it's
AI
terrifying.
vocals. Well, I think we best embrace it.
Well, I agree. I mean, we were just.
It's going to happen anyway.
Yeah, it's funny. We were just chatting. The crew and I were just chatting before you came, and I worked with an artist in the Czech Republic a couple of years back. I worked with him for 12 years, and he sadly died. And he was amazing. His name was Miro Zabirka, and he's like huge star for 4 years. And I thought. I was just thinking of it the other night. I just thought, what if? Because he wrote all these songs before he died that he never released. And his wife's a very good friend of mine as well. And I was just going to say, why don't we reproduce those songs and AI his voice to his own melodies, because he owns it, they're his songs.
Exactly.
And release a record of someone who's not even here anymore.
Exactly.
That is incredibly exciting.
And that's what was hooking me in, really, to it, was that, you know, what a great thing to leave behind. Because as you said, my voice is very individual. It's got lots of inflections and cracks in it that make it me. Mm-hmm. But how lovely to leave that behind, you know, and we're not going to physically live forever.
You think record companies are going to want to put that in contracts now, though? We have the right to use your voice for the next 50 years, you know, through AI.
I'm not sure, but it'll definitely just allow writers to use if they're inspired by a vocal, they can then find it and use it. I think that's, yeah, I dig that.
So going back to the very, very, very beginning, what was the record that changed your life, that you heard that this is what I want to do? Everybody's got one. Come on. There's got to be one that you went, you know, this is what I love and this is what I want to do. There's got to be one.
Oh, there's not one.
There's no lightning bolt one.
I think I'm like kind of got several different compartmental bits of my brain, you know, because like I said, this Joni Mitchell Blue album was just
it was a masterpiece.
It's a masterpiece, yeah, exactly. And of course, Kate Bush, you know, all of her albums are amazing. Sensual Life, is it? Is that one? Yeah, this is just such a beautiful.
I went to see her, actually, the last show she did at the, what do they call it? The Hammersmith Apollo, or whatever they call it now. Mm-hmm. And it was amazing. The love was incredible. When she came on the stage, the whoosh, I mean, you could literally feel it. I mean, I was literally in tears.
I was, the whole way through.
It was wonderful, wasn't it? That's one of my top 3 gigs of all time, that Kate Bush gig. It was absolutely astounding.
I was glad I was there.
Yeah, me too.
You know, I tend, because I've been working so hard performing myself over the last 25 years, then I miss out on a lot of gigs. You know, I need to make a point of going to more gigs because it's great food. It's great.
Yeah, it's the delivery, isn't it? It's the passion. You can see it, you know, in the flesh. And I think I
always want to get up on the stage, though. It's like
just push them
out. Let me have a go. Yeah.
So there wasn't a particular song, but obviously the genre. I mean, we touched on it earlier
Prince,
on. Right.
You know, all of these incredible people. We were in, like I said, we were in a sweet shop at that time. You know, the 80s and the 90s. Just full of innovation, talking heads.
Right.
You know, they all just made me the performer that I am. And I find myself sometimes when I'm performing thinking, oh, that's a bit of Kate. Or that's a bit of David. Or that's a bit of David Byrne. You know, oh, you've got a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a bit of Annie Lennox thrown in there. You know,
bit of more Chiba, maybe.
She's lovely. We've stitched together, and I teach my students this, is that's what we do. We take a little swatch of cloth from each artist that has impressed us or moved us, and we stitch it together and make a jacket that fits us perfectly, and it's our jacket. You know, it's made up of all of the swashes and the patchwork of all of our experiences.
Well, all the great artists did
ours.
that. Not only like music artists, like painters, like Degas and Monet and Manet. They were all collectors. Why did they collect? Because they were studying the work and said, "Oh, I could use that. That's a nice stroke. I think I'll nick that." You know, I mean, they did it too. They studied because it was like that was the only way.
And
they could
all
get
hang
it.
out together, and they all equally hate each other, and they, you know, yeah.
So it was a mixed bag. So, but on the trip up thing, which was a big part of your sound going back, where you were listening to obviously to Portishead.
Well,
and
I moved to Bristol so that I could be close to Massive Attack. So hopefully they would pick me up, and I would be.
Did you ever speak to them about?
Yeah, I used to live around the corner from Daddy, and for a lot of the boys used to go to the same corner shop as me, and they'd be like, "All right, Sean, and I'd be like, when are you going to let me have a track then?" "Oh yeah," but they never did. And I met Beth from Portishead. I was introduced to her by Connell Dodds, one of the promoters in Bristol, and he goes, it was right at the height of our success, and he goes, "Beth, this is Sian Evans from Kosheen," and she went, "Never heard of him." And I was like, okay.
Because you know on that
Tricky, I loved it. You know,
Tricky
all
was
them
great.
boys,
You know, as I said,
well, Bristol was buzzing at that point.
I mean, it's such a tiny place and the huge impact it's had on the world.
I lived in St Paul's as well, which was
wow.
the epicenter of all things music.
I mean, that changed the world musically. I mean, I was just thinking today, the way that has resonated right to this day, that whole scene of that tiny, but I think it was partly a lot to do with a huge Jamaican population Caribbean community living in Bristol, and all that mashing it up.
And the university and the water that surrounds the place, and it all lends itself to a creative vibe.
And also, I just remember a while back someone telling me that the tape up that was on Blue Lines was what was his name again? Jeff Barrow.
Yeah.
Who ended up forming Portishead, but he was the tape up on Blue Lines for Massive Attack.
When we had tape.
Yeah, back in the. Well, let's be honest. We don't miss tape. I
miss that reel to reel. I do.
Not when you're a producer. It's very expensive.
No, I know, but it's that smell and that sound and that. Yeah, I'm very, very glad that I was a part of that. But you know, kids like I say, kids. My son's generation now, they're all going back to analog and valves and you know, they love all of that kind of integrity, that.
Yeah, well, I mean, you get bored with just software. It needs something tactile.
Exactly,
but tape was a pain in the ass. I mean,
sticking it together.
Well, I used to have ADATs in my studio.
Well, that's why I'm such a good fucking singer, because I had to get it right.
Yeah, of course.
You know, nowadays you don't have to. You can have a million takes and just, you know, pick the one or auto-tune it or whatever. But I had to get it right the first time because we only had a limited amount of tape and a limited amount of hours in the studio when I was first starting out. And I think, you know, a lot of singers and performers would do well to have that discipline, I think.
Yeah, no, I definitly wouldn't.
Are we sounding like a couple of old farts now?
I think we are probably a bit. But you know,
go back to the olden days when things were tough.
Well, a little bit of struggle, as I said, doesn't do you any harm. But no. Look, you know, I make records myself now the modern way, and I use Pro Tools and Logic and whatever. And I love it, if I'm being honest, because you can work on multiple projects, where it was a pain in the ass back in the day with tape. You know, it was expensive. You know, it was difficult. It was limited on tracks, but there was a discipline in it. And you're right. I mean, I had ADATs. I had 3 ADATs with a BRC, and it took about 3 minutes for them to lock each time. You know, hit record before I could press play again. It was like it was a total pain. But it disciplined you about how things worked and how you had to be creative about how to find sounds. And even I was thinking about that today when I was thinking of DJ Shadow, you know, and he was, I mean, you wouldn't get away with what he got away with at the time, sampling all those old movies and all the rest of them, putting samples together. I mean, it was the Wild West with all of the Akai S1000, sampling everything that, you know, every sound in the world. It was great. It was brilliant, getting records and nicking, you know, before the majors came in and decided, no more of that.
You're going back to hip hop and rare groove now, aren't you know, and all that, the reusing of all of those original vinyl, you know, records in hip hop. You know, that was a trend that continued well up into the 80s.
Yeah, absolutely.
But now my son and his peers, they make their own. Everything is made from scratch. You know, so it sounds like it's been sampled, but it's not. It's just clever. It's just,
well, they have to.
I'm a bit of a technophobe. I don't do buttons. I like sitting down with a pencil and paper, and I like sitting by the piano, and I like sitting with my guitar, and that's my happy place.
Well, you're a songwriter.
That's my happy place. Give me buttons,
foremost.
and I think I must have some kind of diversity to add to the other diversities that I know I have. But I just buttons. Oh God.
So, is there anybody around now that you'd love to collaborate, artist-wise?
Oh gosh, I am collaborating with some wonderful people. Yeah. I love Dan Stein. I mean, we had our ups and downs, but DJ Fresh is just a very talented man, and
right.
Life has taken him on some really interesting directions. But as the grace of God's delivered him back to me, and I'm hoping that we're going to be able to do some more work together. I love all the D&B guys. I love Ray Keith, and I love Ronnie Size. I love Ryan. You know, I'm in a good position to tap into some creativity. But like I said, it's got to be a statement piece.
Right.
And it's got to have the same biorhythm as a Kosheen record would, only for now.
The dynamic.
It's got to be strong.
Yeah, and obviously the narrative as well, that you always attach to that, which is a huge part of it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, lyrics are important to you.
When I write a song, I imagine it being performed. It's not ever in a box. It's always something that I want to animate, you know, and tell a story. I think that's the passion for me, is storytelling.
And you're enjoying the touring now?
I do. I love the gigs. Absolutely adore the gigs. I mean, where the energy comes from, I don't know. But I'm pretty crippled the next day, and you know, my knees and feet and you know, all the bits are starting to go a bit so I have to have a massage and spa and steam and sleep a lot.
Yeah.
I'm like the rock and roll dormouse. I nod off everywhere. I'm a little kip before sound check, little kip after sound check. It's just in order to be able to deliver with that same energy, you know, that people have come to expect from me, and that I expect that from myself. And in order for me to deliver that, I have to economise on other things, and you know, drinking and you know, I'm still
drinking.
Yeah, I know.
You'll be lost here tonight.
No, but it takes a lot of energy to digest alcohol, and you fat.
It does, yeah.
That's where you get the hangovers from, and you can't. At 52, I can't be having a hangover in the van, driving for 5 hours to jump out of the van, to jump onto a stage. You know, I know I don't mean to dispel any myths about, you know, rock and roll, man, because God knows I've kicked the ass out of it over the last 20 years. I just don't do it anymore.
No, it's all a little, it's the right way to
I
approach
enjoy
things.
my shows now.
Yeah, and the punters deserve it. You know,
Yes,
I think, you know,
they
the fans, it's kind of to give them a great show. I think
Absolutely.
that kind of
It's got to be
gratuitous
flawless.
behaviour was kind of, well, it's a gone by era, and, you know.
It went a long time ago, but I guess it was a bit cultural in Kosheen for the first few years, and I couldn't keep up with that. And, you know, that's another reason why the format has changed. And I've got these, Mitch was the drummer. He was my friend way before Kosheen, and I brought him to Kosheen with me, and he's an incredible drummer. But it just did him in as well, and so we were separated for many years. Ron I've known for 30 years. We were in a band together in Bristol when I first came down off the mountain, and he's always had faith in me and I in him. And so there's a real solid connection on the stage now. They are the kindest, sweetest guys, and they don't you know, blow smoke up my ass or anything. They'll tell me as it is, but we look out for each other, and that I never had that with the original lineup of Kosheen. I didn't feel supported. I felt as if I had to out-guy them, out-filth them, and out-drink them, and out-party them, and it was like a competition to be one of the boys, and that was. It nearly killed me.
So one girl with a bunch of guys on the road is always difficult,
isn't it?
isn't it? Yeah.
And I missed my son. I was away from my boy, who was only 10. So it was really hard, yeah. But that is in the past. and we've all survived it.
Yeah, and I mean, you faked it brilliantly because you'd never hear that in the music. I mean, listening to your records, I mean, somehow you all transcended that and made brilliant records together.
If you listen to the lyrics, I think you'll find there's a thread there of a pretty unhappy woman, yeah.
Right, well, that's probably partly the silver line. That's why we love those songs, because it's the kind of, it's the angst and it's the pain, you know what I mean, that people want to hear. People want to connect, I think, with other people's experience, you know, because everybody's got one. It's not all great all the time,
and they want to
is
express.
It? Yeah,
you know, they want to use something as a vehicle for their own expression, and that's fine. That's fine.
So next, what's next?
We're going to, you say all this like abstinence and not drinking. We're going to play at the Pilsner factory tomorrow. God help us.
Well, that'll be fun.
Because a couple of the boys, they like it. They like a beer. But we've got a UK tour coming up in the autumn.
Great. You're playing
so
London?
28 dates. Yeah, we are. We're playing Coco.
Oh, I'd like to come.
Will you come?
I would love to, please.
Well, that would be wonderful. Yeah,
fantastic. That'd be great.
List.
Records-wise, you're obviously working with different people.
I'm in that process.
You're in the process of finding the right people. And you think you've found the team yet, or is it still evolving?
It's still evolving, and I like to champion new talent as well. So I've been working a little bit with a woman called Sophia. And she's got some spice, man. She's got some flavour, yeah.
So is she like a dance producer?
Yeah, I'm not going to go too deeply into that because we're not committed to do anything at the moment. But it's exciting. I'm very fortunate. I've made a lot of friends, you know.
Well, talent always kind of wins the day. If people love what you do.
And it's amazing, isn't it, that people are still interested in working with me at this stage. I didn't realise that my career would be quite as long as this.
Yeah, but great voices are a rare thing. I mean, I'm not just being nice to you, but they just are. You know, when you're a producer, you know, an artist comes in, you're just praying, please be good, please be good. Because we all, you know, and then they're not unless you get heart breaks.
You've got to get the chemistry right, though. You've got to put them in the right place, I think, for singers.
But I still think even singers just generally, like, they're too, but no, they're not. It's a rare thing to find a great singer, and to find a great singer with a great tone and a great delivery, and then with something to say.
Yeah.
I mean, all these boxes that have to be ticked, not going into cliche here, but it's a rare beast, you know. And I know even record companies like pray to God they're going to walk through the door. You know, people say, well, they want you to be great. You know what I mean? That was just one of the last things. So when you were on the major label thing with the band, was that a good experience for you or not a good experience?
It was fantastic. I mean,
did they take care of you? Or
they wanted me. I mean, we're going back quite a while where, you know, the pop starlet was, you could fit her in your pocket, and I didn't really fit in that mould. So it was difficult to, you know, why didn't you get a personal trainer? Do you think you want to lose a bit of weight here and there?
Oh,
I'm thinking,
God.
No way am I going to be pushed around like that.
Right.
You know, I was quite militant feminist at the time. You know, I was not,
sure, of course.
I'm who I am. It's a voice that you're buying, not my body shape. But that was tricky. Also, you know, we weren't really managed.
Right.
We were self-managed, and that was a wrong move, because we had no idea what was ahead of us, how it was going to go from zero to hero in such a quick turnaround.
Yeah.
And there was no humanity about our touring schedule. We were like here, then here, then here, then here, and there was no continuity or any kind of, you know, so that was really difficult. If I had the time over again, I would definitely invest in management, in a good management, good heartical, solid, strict, old school management.
Yeah, and have that kind of firewall. I've been working with Skin, you know, Skin from Skunk and Auntie recently. Yeah. And she's just got, remember Jeremy Lascelles?
She's amazing.
You know Jeremy Lascelles? He's
is that her manager?
Yeah, he's managing now. Maybe I should hook you up.
Maybe.
And he's tough as nails, man. We did it. We were doing, I can't say a huge brand moment, but they didn't give us what we wanted, and he just shut them down. I was a bit good at it, if I'm being honest, because it was a lot of money.
but he was kind of right. And it was like that old school manager, nobody messes with him. You know, he's old school, Chrysalis and all that.
That's
but
it. Yeah,
he's a tough cookie, but he's fair, you know, and I respect that. And I think, you need that protection.
But you're a human being, but you're also a commodity. And if the human being is exhausted and fractious and the band are fighting, that commodity is going to lose its value. You're not going to be able to market it, you know, because it's not going to be there. So
and protecting your rights, you know. I mean, you're quite knowledgeable in rights.
I've got a great lawyer,
you know, so that he can take care of that. But I think that one guy who you can kind of take all of that tough stuff to take care of, and then you know, the business stuff, and
leave the artist to be the artist.
Yeah,
you know, let them be creative, let them do their performances. But that didn't happen for us. And I mean, then when Louder went straight to #1 when it was released, that then made me quite an attractive publishing kind of vibe.
Did they not offer you a deal as a solo artist at the time? That's amazing.
No, but I did get popped into lots of different studios with lots of young people that were making records, and none of them were a good fit.
Right.
You know, it was like one electronic band after another, and it's like, I don't write like that. I'm not a write to order, not a pop song to order kind of writer, you know. But it was a great experience, and met a lot of wonderful people.
So it's exciting times ahead, though. Come on,
darling. I've had a wonderful career. I'm having a wonderful life.
Well, this is what it's all about, isn't it? When you go through the journey and then you get to this point and you look back and think it was just stuff. I mean, a lot of it was painful, but if you can let it go and it's just stuff and enjoy the moment and think, here I am right now, here we are in this wonderful place having a chat.
Yeah.
You're going to do a brilliant show later on. You'll have a bit of dinner. You get, you know, I mean, it's not bad.
It's wonderful.
It's like, I'm like
I've done
you,
the graft. I put the graft in.
And you deserve it. And you've earned it.
Yeah. And I look forward to the next bit of graft. I look forward to the creative next bit of graft. I tour as I want to tour now. I don't do 20 dates. I do 4 in a row, day off, 4 in a row, day off home. You know, it's more like gentleman or gentlewoman touring rather than the nose against the grindstone.
Any festivals coming up?
Lots. None that I can put my finger on. Not Glastonbury. I mean, that was hard work the last time we did that. Love Boomtown. We're doing a few little zhuzhy little festivals around the place. Yeah, mostly in Europe. We've got a lot of support here in Eastern Europe and in Central Europe.
You always have, haven't you?
I know, and it's such an anthem for the changes that this part of the world has been through, and it's just lovely to be a part of the people's lives here. It really is. They're very loyal, very supportive, and, you know, appreciative, which
Amazing.
is nice.
Sian Evans.
See you in London.
Thank you so much. That was
so
fantastic.
Welcome.
Brilliant.
I enjoyed that. I think, when are they going to start filming?
Oh, well, they never do.
You are.
They just keep going.
Well,
you just stay looking fabulous. It's a full-time job around this place.